Greetings everyone, my name is Etterville, and welcome back to my Let's Play of Mega Maker. During the last part, I covered one viewer submitted level, as well as 6 levels that I found in the popular queue. So in this part, I'll be covering at least 5 or 6 levels that I found by searching on Twitter using the Mega Maker hashtag. So let's start out with this level. That being Fortress Assault by Giantess Snuggles. 12 plays and a score of 1. And from what I saw on their Twitter comment, this is the first ever Mega Maker level that they created and uploaded. So let's see how it stands up. Now, as usual, the link to my full disclaimer is in the description below, and of course, if you want one of your levels to be shared in a future part, please leave the ID or name of the level in the comments below, or direct message me on Twitter. And your level will either be featured in a viewer level submitted special part, or in one of the beginnings of another part. So we're assaulting a fortress. It seems that we're getting attacked by all those Coltons, as well as all these Sniper Joes. We don't have the charge shot. We only have Mega Man 2 physics, it seems. That's good to know. We have the Mega Buster, Crash Bomber, and Firestorm. I probably should be using the Firestorm more. Especially because of situations like this where I can easily just ignore them. I'm just damage boosting off of here. And I suppose this is going to be a fortress-based stage, so there is going to be some special weapon usage that is forced, or more difficult than usual sections. Like here, for example, because we aren't necessarily introduced to these gimmicks in an initially safe environment like you would in a traditional Mega Man stage. But nothing too bad so far. Except for this, probably. At least we have the Crash Bomber in order to deal with all these big eyes. Thank you for giving me it, Giantess. We have 2 options here. I'll take the upper one to see what it has to offer. Actually, let me take the lower one and see what's over there. Okay, it's an E-Tank. Oh, I see the problem here. They're all on falling platforms. Thankfully it isn't too difficult as long as I don't screw up this jump. So it pays to explore some of these the extra nooks and crannies of these levels. Good for adding that. Nothing too bad. Thankfully the ladder hitboxes are a little bit more on the forgiving side. And also thank you for introducing the ladder dropping challenge of this level in a safer environment before putting them over spikes. And thank you for putting the checkpoint over there. Good checkpoint placement. Oh, we're at the end of the stage right now, I suppose. And I suppose if we actually had the ability to have mini-bosses, we would be fighting the Mecha Dragon down over there. But we don't, so we're just gonna be fighting the boss that... Never mind, we're not fighting a boss just yet. We basically made our way into the fortress itself. So I guess that was a halfway point. Whoa. Make sure to hang on to the ladder there. Thank you for clipping me over there. Otherwise I would have died. Oh, there's also one other behavior that was changed I've seen ever since version 1.0.5. It's the fact that you can't get as easily as telefragged by all those Yoko blocks as you could before. Which I do strongly appreciate. Whoops. I totally forgot that we didn't have access to the slide, because most levels made in this engine do allow you access to the slide, so it kinda throws me off. The slide has been stable in most Mega Man games and fan games ever since Mega Man 3 after all. In fact, the only game after Mega Man 3 which didn't have the slide was Mega Man 9. At least the checkpoint isn't too far back. I guess I need to do a tap jump over there. But I do appreciate that the Yoku blocks don't telefrag the player anymore. And ever since version 1.0.5.2, the timing of these objects has been fixed, so now the Yoku blocks won't go out of sync again. Oh, I made it across this time. If there's one suggestion for the level designer, it's to please raise the spikes up at least 1 or 2 blocks. The rest of the stage didn't focus on precision platforming, and putting one here really breaks the flow of the stage and can make a lot of players get frustrated and having to repeat it over and over. Thankfully the checkpoint's only 6 or 7 screens away, but still, it should be raised up a bit because this breaks the flow of the stage. It's a sudden difficulty spike, essentially. But thank you for putting a checkpoint right after it, because it was expected that players would die repeatedly. Oh no, force beams, we better keep running to the right then. I suppose this is to mimic the Mecha Dragon fight, where you have to keep running forward, otherwise you'll get killed by the Mecha Dragon. Almost made it. I hesitated earlier, and that resulted in my death. There probably should be a little bit more lenience in terms of the force beams, maybe making them slower, or start them at a later time, but it's not too bad. But I suppose this is to replicate the Mecha Dragon fight, where you start out by running away from them, and then you fight it. Oh, yeah, you really need to give at least 1 more second, because the tolerance in that between you succeeding and failing is too tight, personally speaking, and you have nothing. Oh no. Well, I failed this one. Let me redo it. I didn't move immediately. There should be a checkpoint in between, because the chance of the player failing is actually rather high. And you probably should increase the tolerance for player failure to make this less frustrating. Thank you for the M-Tank, but it's just a bit too risky to get. That's why I won't take it. There should be 1 more second added there. It's too tight for both of these. It's just a sudden difficulty spike at the stage that wasn't really well telegraphed earlier. Okay, I got it this time, but there has to be a fix with this though. If you take the bottom route, it seems that you have little to no air. You almost have no way of getting across without getting telefragged by the late force beams. You are forced to take the upper route, where because of the conveyor belt, you're pushed forward with enough speed in order to make it across. But if you take the bottom route, I don't think it's possible to make it, unless you make a lot of tight jumps. So we probably should add at least 1 more second to the delay for each of these force beams to make it a little bit more fair for newer players, or at least moderate Mega Man players, because even right now it's tougher than most Fortress stages. But at last you at least put a checkpoint over here. Okay, here's the fight against Crash Man with force beams, so he can never jump, it seems. What is his weakness? Oh, the Crash Bomber itself. I better restart the fight though. I didn't realize what was going on. So Crash Man is suffering from Metal Man syndrome, where he's weak against his own weapon. At least he's not deadly weak against his own weapon. Make him jump into the fort. Ah, that was my fault. I forgot I can't jump. I hope I have enough Crash Bomber energy to do this. Well, I do have the M-Tank actually. Yeah, I have the M-Tank, let me just use it. And make sure I never press jump again. This is one of those locations where I really wish I had the ability to slide, so I could duck under Crash Man. Well, that was the end of Fortress Assault. The first half of the stage was pretty nice, a nice difficulty curve, but suddenly there was a difficulty spike with the jumps on the falling platforms under the low-hanging ceiling with spikes, and then it became even tougher with the forced force beam segment where you had to run to the right. I believe it was done to mirror the Mega Dragon fight in Mega Man 2, but the tolerance for player failure is too low. You have basically a split second of tolerance, otherwise you'll lose. So I suggest adding 1 or 2 more seconds of delay before the force beams get fired off, so lesser skilled players can actually complete the stage. And because of those 2 things, I can't really, in good faith, give this stage a thumb up. Sorry, Giantess. Still, for a first stage, it's pretty nice. Just work on making the stage a little bit more tolerable for less skilled players, and it'll be good. Or at the very least, better signal that this is a tougher stage from the very beginning instead of adding such a difficulty spike in the middle. Second level on this lineup is the Hydro Dam by GrahfMetal, 14 plays and a score of 8. The other thing that made this level catch my eye is that on the Twitter post, he actually created a Nintendo Power style guide for the entire stage. So it walks you through the stage, explains the enemies, certain secrets, and how to defeat the boss at the end. It's pretty neat. In fact, he did it for all 4 or 5 of the levels that he created in his Mega Maker history. So I will take a look at all 3 other of his stages in the future too. Okay, we just had the Mega Buster, and we have the Mega Man 5 or 6 charge shot. And from what the story says, it seems that Stone Man has occupied a Hydro Dam nearby, and so we need to save the Hydro Dam and defeat Stone Man. I didn't really read most of the guide, so I wouldn't get spoiled on these stages. After all, like I said way back in the beginning of this LP, I'll be trying to do most of these levels blind if possible, so I can keep the sense of discovery and raw reactions. After all, I feel that's one of the most important things for hooking people on fan games, especially because of how the classic Mega Man games have a understood seal of quality and trust in Capcom. But for Mega Man fan games, you have to be a lot more careful of obtaining this trust. And of course, if the first impressions aren't that good, then the players will go for something else, for a better fan game that they have more trust in. That's why first impressions, or even second impressions, for fan games are so important, especially in comparison to the original work. Also good for teaching us that if we accidentally destroy too many of these blocks, we may end up falling in bottomless pits. Overall, the level design right now is pretty fair actually, not too difficult. I'm just failing at it a lot. I tried damage boosting off of it, didn't work. And I do like the level progression of how we started out. Oh, if I fell down that pit earlier, I would have skipped that entire segment and got over here. That's neat. But I do like the progression how we started at the top of the waterfall and now we're in the dam itself. Pretty nice. And it seems there seem to be a bunch of alternate pathways and extra goodies you can take if you're careful with destroying the blocks. Which I do like always when levels add extra pathways you can take if you're really good or if you're really careful. Like here for example, we could have damage boosted off the Pukapelli to make this a lot easier, but instead, I can just wait and destroy the Pukapelli and just time my jumps. Instead I'm just gonna damage boost. It's always the safer approach after all. As long as you're quick on your feet. I don't know, it's just that I feel like the spike hitboxes... Well, it's not really a problem here, but I always worry about getting skewered on the spikes, and especially in this engine. And I'm really liking the stage design and aesthetics and tilesets used. The designer did a pretty good job at that. It feels like a really solid Mega Man level. Although sometimes the spikes can be camouflaged by the waterfall. But I enjoyed the mix of tilesets from multiple Mega Man levels. I'm bypassing as many enemies as possible because there's no need to fight them. After all, I'm not going to be farming for bolts or money either. Maybe bolts will be added as an extra goodie in order to incentivize players to explore more of the levels in the future, and perhaps taking more steps or ideas from the Megamel 2 or other engines, fan game engines specifically. Perhaps we can have stuff like Noble Nickels or Red Rings or Star Coins or Doors and Keys, something to make it so that you're more incentivized for exploring the entirety of the level. And make it so that alternate paths are more worth the player's while. And that was the end of the stage. A nice romp of a stage from start to finish, nice consistent increase of difficulty, nice introduction of gimmicks, and the aesthetics are pretty well done, I would say the aesthetics are much better than 90% of the previous Mega Man levels I played. Nice combination of backgrounds, gimmicks, as well as tile sets from different levels. Bravo. In that case, I'm quite excited to see what other levels that this developer did, especially in terms of the aesthetics front and the difficulty curve. It feels like a nice traditional Mega Man level in terms of length and structure. Okay, we're fighting Sniper Joe right now. Oh, I see, we need to blow up this bottom in order to access the next part of the stage. Is this like pick a door, where if I take the wrong path... Oh, never mind. I just need to go to the right. He's pretty much strong against all my shots. And instead, in order to kill him, I need to blow up the floor under him. Well, that was a very creative way of defeating Stone Man. I wonder what would happen if I got stuck in midair, or stopped in midair, for the victory animation. Would I fall to my death? This was a wonderful stage, definitely my favorite stage out of the bunch so far. So great job, GrahfMetal. In the future, I will try out your other 3 stages. I will link the guide in the description below. It is pretty nice and has a lot of interesting tidbits. Third level on the lineup is Caviarmageddon by LaudableCalms, 11 plays and a score of 2. And according to their Twitter post, this is the 4th level they've ever uploaded to the Mega Maker official servers. So let's see how it plays. And this is a gimmick-based level. This one is focusing on usage of the Thunder Beam. It's a pretty powerful special weapon, but if you overuse it, you can be trapped in a bad situation. So let's go on the left, for example. So we're in a relatively safe situation here, because we can easily just dissipate all of these pole eggs very easily, but we gotta be a little bit careful so you don't get killed. Like over there, I just damage boosted off of it, so I wouldn't worry about the spikes. Nothing too difficult so far, but it's gonna slowly get more difficult and more difficult as we go by. Because we gotta be careful where we send all the Elec Beams towards, because we may end up destroying the ground beneath us that we need in order to progress, like here for example. We have to be a bit careful so we can actually progress forward towards the stage, so that we don't make it too difficult. Over here it's not too bad, but eventually it will get a lot more difficult. And the next level after this, the 4th level, will also be by LaudableCalms as well. I'm just damage boosting, I really don't want to die there. Thank you for the extra life energy there, really appreciate it. Slowly the difficulty is getting a bit higher with all of the pole eggs acting like platforms. Also situations like here, if we use the Thunder Beam willy-nilly, will end up making the situation harder. This is another one of those situations where we have to get across without using the Thunder Beam, otherwise we'll just destroy the ground beneath us. Instead, we have to wait for this Force Beam in order to come up before we actually shoot it, or before we cross over. Otherwise, if we somehow use the Thunder Beam, we'll kill ourselves. I really hope there's a checkpoint coming up soon, otherwise we're not going to be in the best spot. Now we need to destroy all of these, so we can get past. Nothing too difficult so far, but I would like a checkpoint. I damage boosted off of there because I wasn't sure I would make it past the spikes. Better safe than sorry. Thank you for putting the checkpoint there. I would have liked one more beforehand, at least somewhere in the middle, so we wouldn't have to repeat. But this is fine. Another situation where if you do use the Thunder Beam, you can make the stage a lot harder, like here, where I ended up pointing the wrong direction, or facing the wrong direction, because we have to worry about all those caterpillars as well. And of course, the pole eggs immediately try rushing towards you or going towards the last position, so even using it at this point can be a bit dangerous. It's best to just not even use it at all here and just dodge all the shots. That's your best way of survival. That way you don't need to worry about having to wait for all of the Yoko blocks to appear. In a way, this is like a pacifist Mega Man stage, forcing you to know when to use the Thunder Beam correctly. I thought there was going to be a secret on the left, but no, there isn't. And now we're at the boss fight. Oh, okay. We need to quickly jump off of here, otherwise we're going to die. Okay, here's a fight against Toadman, so we need to make sure we don't hit the bottom over there, and we need to make sure we actually hit Toadman. This fight's a lot harder because of the contact damage problem, and my jump button didn't work again. But as I was saying, we need to make sure that we have to guide Toadman into jumping in the right position while avoiding getting hit by all the poles. Easier said than done, of course. Like here, for example, it's still a bit challenging, especially if you get caught in the bad position. Okay, that's it. End of the stage. A little bit of a difficult boss fight, but if you can slowly edge your way forward, it's fine. It's a nice stage indicating how you can use the Thunder Beam and how you should be careful so you don't overuse it and destroy the platforms beneath you, but it's not as difficult or creative as What's the Hold Up, which was the Gravity Hole stage. Speaking of which, the fifth stage that Laudable made was called Gravity Breaker, I mean, and that focuses on using the gravity hold, so let's take a look at it. 17 plays and a score 0. But the previous stage I wish it took a bit further with the Elec Beam and made it a little bit harder, so you can further see how far it could be taken. I wonder what would happen if you go down. Oh, we have alternate pathways, it seems. Let me take the left route, then I'll take the bottom route. I wonder if these routes will eventually meet up with each other. They seem quite interesting. No, never mind. This is just for extra goodies. Oh, I see. That's how you get the E-Tank, and now we need to reverse our track here and kill off the picket men. Of course, the gravity hold is one of the most powerful special weapons, as you can see here. Also, seizure warning, I will not be using the gravity hold as much as possible unless it's absolutely necessary, so you don't see the screen repeatedly flash over and over. As I was saying, the gravity hold is one of the most powerful screen clearing weapons in the game, or rather the only one it seems. So you gotta be cautious not to overuse it, otherwise you'll make some of the challenges a bit harder. Like what happened here and I forgot where I was going. I shouldn't overuse it there because I destroyed the platform at the bottom, which would make the challenge a lot easier. Because the moment I use gravity hold, I have to do these tight jumps, or longer form jumps in order to make my way across. And eventually I think I'll reach the point where I can't even make my way across. Well, that was a little bit scary. Another situation where you do not want to use gravity hold is go down there. Oh no, that's bad. I see what they want me to do here, just need to wait for the force beams to make their way across. Damage boost. What happened there? Oh well, at least I'm not too far away from the end. Oh, okay, so the ceiling is a bit higher than what I thought it would be. That's good to know. Oh, I see. I need to jump up from the top so I don't get telefragged. Yeah, I thought I could make it there, but no, I see what I need to do. I probably should have used the gravity hold when I was a bit closer there. At least I can actually complete the challenge without having to use the gravity hold. I could get by using gravity hold over there and just jump in, but I wanted to take the safer route. Really, the main thing that this stage is teaching me is that don't use the gravity hold until you get to near the end, otherwise the challenges will get much harder. Damage boosting, especially with the spike hitboxes. Let me restart this checkpoint just to be sure, in case so I don't die in the middle or right next to it at the next checkpoint. Thank you for putting a checkpoint right at this falling segment, or the spike wall segment. Oh no, another force beam segment. Now we need to memorize the pattern in order to figure out how to get across. Oops, I mistimed it. Still, at least the checkpoint placement is relatively fair, so even if I die, I'm not taken back too far. There we go, that's how you do it. You're supposed to time your jumps properly. And that's how you get across. Now I gotta be careful for this telefragging segment with all these, well, the Yoku blocks. Let me destroy all the Yoku blocks just to make it a bit easier. At least that's what I hope it does. Just time your jumps right at the rhythm of the Yoku blocks and you'll make your way past. Okay, this is the part of the stage where you have to use the gravity hold in order to make it easier. Otherwise, if you don't use the gravity hold, going through the stage is much harder. Whereas the first half of the stage was, if you use the gravity hold, the stage becomes harder. This second half is where if you don't use the gravity hold, the stage is harder. Oh, I see why there's a frowny face there. If we had the ability to fire a projectile, we would be able to complete the stage by just shooting the party ball. Instead, we have the second half of the stage. Or the final part of the stage if we can reach that energy element. There we go, that's how I complete this stage. If I go into one of those teleporters, I think I'll instantly die, so you need to go through it here. Well, that was the end of Gravity Breaker. That was certainly a tougher stage compared to Caviarmageddon. Whereas Caviarmageddon focused more on pole eggs and using the Elec Beam, this one focused much more on the gravity hold itself. And it was certainly a tougher stage, more so for that one force beam segment. But still it was fine, and the checkpoint placement was mostly okay. So good job, LaudableCalms. Fifth level on the lineup is Wily 1 Remake, Mega Man 1 Gameboy by Dom. 21 plays and score of 5. Now, there was another level that I was going to set as my 5th level, but for some reason when I tried loading it up, my game completely hung. Either the fact that the level was broken, or it was too long. Maybe it was obsoleted by one of the new engine updates or something. Obsoleted. That's why it caused the game crash or game hung. Strangely enough, there was no error, so instead I'll be picking this level. And based off the name, this is going to be a remake of Wily 1 from the Mega Man 1 Game Boy game. I never played it, the only thing I know about it is that it's pretty lower quality, to say the least. And of course we have the Mega Man 2, or rather Mega Man 1 physics. And we have all of the Mega Man 1 special weapons as well. I never really played Mega Man 1 for the Game Boy, so I'm not sure how accurate the stage design is to that game. At least the graphics aren't in grayscale anymore. I just realized something. When the big guys actually close their eyes like that, that's when they're going to do the large jump. I just realized it in all of the 20 parts of this LP just now. That would have been so more helpful if I realized it earlier. Thank you for making it consistent and giving a consistent tell to developers for showing when the big guys will make that jump. Now I have a falling segment over there, which I'll avoid everything, and I'll die. There was probably the Yoku blocks. The stage isn't too difficult, so I don't fault the lack of checkpoints here. There we go. That's when you need to know when you need to jump. Okay, let's do this correctly this time. Oh, phew. Okay, now I need to wait for the Yoku blocks to appear. Oh no, I don't have access to Yoku blocks. Instead, we need to use the Magnet Beam. Fair enough. Well, a lot of Fortress stages in Mega Man games, especially the earlier ones, did force you to use special weapons or utilities. In this case, I need to use the Magnet Beam in order to get across here, so I can actually make it across the spike pit. And there's a checkpoint. Again, my input for jumping was eaten by the engine. It seems to be a persistent issue specifically with this engine alone. I don't remember this happening with most of the other Mega Man fan games, even specifically the high-end ones, or rather the most popular ones. I only seem to encounter it in this one and the more lower quality Mega Man fan games. Although I would definitely not qualify this as a low quality Mega Man fan game, that's for sure. Really, I have nothing more to say, and I can't really complain too much about the level design because this is supposed to be like a faithful, almost one-to-one recreation of the original stage, level design faults and all, so I don't know how much I can fault the level designer for, other than the fact of including new enemies or other stuff. Oh, I just missed the checkpoint. I thought I was supposed to hold left there. Probably should have put the checkpoint up there. Well, I'll jump cut up to the checkpoint then. Alright, I made it back to the checkpoint. If there's one suggestion I would have about this, it would be to actually add the checkpoint up there so you have no chance of missing it, just like in the original game. That way you don't need to backtrack all the way back to this point. And it was right before the boss fight. And we had the fight against Nightman, of course. who's weak against the rolling cutter. And that's the end of Wily 1 Remake. Pretty nice remake, I suppose. Although I can't accurately evaluate it compared to its original incarnation because I never played Mega Man 1 for the Game Boy. I will say this, there should have been one more checkpoint, or at least the checkpoint placement for that last part should be moved upwards to the top part of the screen so you have no chance of dodging it by accident. Otherwise, I give it a thumbs up, so good work, Dom. Alright, time for the last level of this lineup, which is Coltons Shootout by Uzo Spiral. 6 plays at a score of 2. Let's hope that this loads up properly. And there's no boss fight at the end, good. We only have the Mega Buster. We run off of Mega Man 3 physics, so sliding and jumping and shooting. And I suppose most of the enemies here are going to be Coltons. I didn't expect that Colton would be falling in midair. Let's try this again, shall we? Coltons take 6 shots to destroy, so I gotta be a bit careful. So I don't get killed in midair like that, what happened there. I think I need that jump. I think I need that junk block, so I will stay here. Some careful platforming, nothing too difficult. Thank you for putting a checkpoint there. I suppose this is going to be one of the more difficult stages. I'm not sure why we need a checkpoint over there, but okay. Because we had a checkpoint just a few screens ago. And this isn't the hardest, the Yoku Block segment. A harder Yoku Block segment was Gravity Breaker. Also, the background seemed a bit random. Random water segment there, oh. Whole eggs. Me missing my jump. This is one of those locations where I really wish I had a piercing special weapon, or the ability to use charge shots. There we go. Now time to make this large jump. And this stage is full of segments where you have to be careful where you shoot, so you don't end up destroying the platforms beneath you. I guess not having the charge shot does make this stage a little bit easier. I was expecting there to be a Kaiser trap over there, based off my bad experience from previous stages. If there's one thing that this stage has notable, it's that it has a whole bunch of checkpoints, very frequent checkpoint placement. You could really cut out half of them and it wouldn't be too much of a loss, but still, it's nice. OL Gold? What does that mean? And thankfully Coltons will not shoot again until they reach the... Okay, I see. Coltons will never shoot again until their shot goes off screen. Of course I can also despawn him if I'm careful enough. The background movement is a little bit messed up though, or screen locking. And that's the end of Colton's Shootout. A really simple stage, mainly focusing on, well, shooting down Coltons and being careful not to destroy the ground beneath you. Specifically all those Dustman blocks as well as all those pole eggs. It really just focused on that one enemy type, though I think it could have been taken further. There are a lot more creative setups where you have to worry about taking care of dispatching of Coltons. So, well, I can't really give it a thumbs up, but I won't give it a thumbs down because it was decently done. But I would like to see it taken further as well. Like put the Coltons in tighter corridors where it's much harder to dodge them. After all, Mega Man does have access to sliding, but it was never really utilized there. Alright, this is a good time to call it quits. Out of the 6 levels that I covered in this part, my favorite one, I believe, would probably be Fortress Assault. Well, not Fortress Assault, it would basically be the Hydro Dam. And a nice mention, or an honorable mention, would probably be Caviarmageddon. The Hydro Dam was a pretty wonderful stage, very well constructed, nice difficulty progression and introduction of gimmicks and enemies, as well as placements in tougher configurations and combinations, and pretty nice combinations of aesthetics or tile sets and backgrounds from multiple Mega Man Classic levels. So many bravos to the developer GrahfMetal. I will be taking a look at their other levels, because in addition to that, looking from their Nintendo Power styled walkthroughs, they seem to be pretty well constructed. And Caviarmageddon is pretty nice because it showcases how powerful the Elec Beam can be, although you have to be careful not to destroy your own ground walking on. The own ground that you're walking. Gravity Breaker would be up there too, but the problem is, of course, it's a little bit too challenging. There's a bit too much of a difficulty spike near the middle, specifically with all those force beams. And Fortress Assault would have been better if it weren't for that difficulty spike with the low ceiling spikes, as well as the Laser Racer Point 2, which really should have added 1 or 2 more seconds of leeway for a lesser skilled player. And Wily 1 Remake, I can't really evaluate properly because I never played the original game, though the last checkpoint should have been moved upwards so you would never be able to miss it. And Colton's shootout was a bit too simple for my taste. They should have had more meat to the game. So in the next part, I'll probably be covering levels from either the Mega Maker official forums or elsewhere. Well then, thanks for watching and have a nice day. Toodles!